The episode opens up with a scene from 15 years ago when Aaron is jailed and has just hours till his parole hearing. Tracy, his daughter, makes sure he doesn't use alcohol. As she departs, a jail guard insults his daughter, who is 13 years old, and provokes Aaron to assault him. As a result, Aaron receives a beating from 3 guards with batons. Back to the present, it's the complete opposite. Tracy is the one drinking, and Aaron seeks her out in a pub. Even worse than the drinking is the question of what will happen if Jericho, a secret army, finds her. Aaron then brings her back home and talks to her about James Erskine, the head of operations for Jericho. During the conversation, Tracy claims that 2 days after her reported demise, her co was killed in a helicopter crash. When she discovered Jericho was chasing her, she got onto a humanitarian flight back to the United States, but she now regrets endangering Aaron in it. Hearing this, Aaron reassures her by telling her that they will be secure. In the following scene, Demetri and Zoe are talking about what Zoe now knows about her flash forward. Demetri makes an effort to persuade her that Mark won't harm him. He also tries to convince her that they will be married by the time, while ordering the pistol to be destroyed. Zoe decides that's not good enough and goes to speak to Mark about it. She is curious as to what Mark would do to end up in this circumstance. Mark admits that he thinks the FBI is being compromised by information leaks and assumes it is being done by Demetri. Hearing this, with a less than courteous attitude toward Mark, Zoe departs. Later, Zoe visits Demetri's workplace and gives Wedek a Freedom of Information application so that she may obtain all of the information on the Mosaic project. When Wedek refuses to do it, Zoe threatens him by saying that she will take legal action against him, upsetting Demetri in the process. Afraid, Wedek complies with her requests and orders Demetri to provide her with all the Mosaic project records. Meanwhile, Simcoe is being questioned by Mark regarding the second blackout and the person who copied D. Gibbons' credit card. Later, Mark brings Simcoe to the residence so that he can explain why Mark's home appeared in the vision, and demands clear explanation. Simcoe recalls receiving a text message from Simon that contained a portion of a formula that he had scrawled on the bathroom mirror with lip gloss. He was unaware that it was Olivia. He also claims to be on the verge of understanding the QED, which they later discover to be a formula. Simcoe mentions that his vision ended with someone saying hi, honey, but couldn't identify it as Olivia. After this, Mark inquires as to the reason for Simcoe's claim that D. Gibbons is lying, but Simcoe is unsure about that. After a bit of interrogation, Simcoe admits that he knows Dyson Frost aka D. Gibbons. He also tells that Dyson stole his work on wave mechanics and claimed credit for it. Eventually, Mark realizes that Dylan, not Simcoe, was the one who was in danger when Simos called him in his flash forward. Mark reveals that he told everything to Flosso, enough to cause another blackout. Hearing this, Mark asks Simcoe to assist him in preventing the next blackout from happening. In the next scene, when Aaron gets home, he does not find Tracy inside as she has already been kidnapped. Aaron then remembers talking to a young soldier, Mike, at his workplace about Tracy hiding at his house. Suspecting that Mike did all this, Aaron arrives at Mike's residence and asks him out for a lunch. During their drive, Mike tries to assault Aaron but fails. When Mike refuses to inform Aaron where Tracy was taken by Jericho, Aaron grabs his hand and makes repeated threats to break his arm. In the next scene, Mark arrives at the office and discusses the mirror test to Wedek. Here, he explains the test which assesses if various animals, including crows, are aware and present Simcoe's findings in this research. Wedek is interested in the case but mentions that he is having a problem persuading DC to send representatives to Somalia for investigating the towers and dead birds. Unexpectedly, Vogel proposes not informing them because it is simpler to seek forgiveness than consent. Mark, however, has decided against traveling to Somalia since he is far too essential for the blackout study. Vogel will travel with Demetri and Janice to Somalia. In the meantime, Simon arrives there and is adamant about going with them, claiming that the designs of towers in Somalia are similar to what he drew when he was 13 years old. In the next scene, James Erskine discovers the power outage in his home unexpectedly during the birthday celebration for his daughter, because of Aaron. Moments later, Aaron arrives there being a power company employee and attempts to coerce Erskine into providing Tracy's location. However, Erskine refuses to know anything and remains silent. After Aaron leaves, Erskine calls his men and asks them to take care of Tracy, and also orders them to kill Aaron. To his bad luck, Aaron has already tapped his phone lines and is listening to his conversation. He hears that Tracy is being deported to Kandahar inside a package. After hearing this, Aaron calls Mark and informs him that matters with Tracy's pals have escalated. He notifies Mark that he is leaving the grid in order to fight with Jericho for his daughter. On the other hand, when Demetri learns that Zoe would defend Alda Herzog, the terrorist that Mark and Demetri had first sought, he loses his temper. Zoe justifies her actions by claiming that Herzog is hiding information concerning Demetri's death, and that this is the only way to obtain it from her. In no uncertain terms, Zoe informs him that she would do whatever it takes to prevent him from being killed because she loves her very much. The next scene begins with Vogel and his group arriving in Somalia and proceeding to their destination of Ganwar. On their trip to the towers, the group is learning Somali words from a kind guide while riding in a helicopter. Later, after the group arrives at the village where the tower is present, Simon requests a gun. Vogel refuses to provide him with one as he is not a security guard. Rather, he is only an advisor. Back in Lao, Mark exhibits a painting of the Hydra to Wedek and claims that it was created by D. Gibbons. He also mentions that D. Gibbons is identified by Simcoe as a bright, reclusive particle scientist who at the age of 15 became a grandmaster at chess. Hearing this, Wedek instructs Mark to look into Dyson Frost. Meanwhile, Vogel and the group discover the tower in Somalia, but when they try to move forward they are immediately shot at. The warlords who are occupying the village send their commander to inquire with the group about their purpose. Vogel instructs the tour guide to interpret, stating that they are Red Panda relief workers who are calm and have permission to enter. Abdi Khalif, the commander, shoots the guide right away and lets them know that he knows English. Following this, the gang is led inside a building by Khalif and his soldiers. They approach Simon and claim to have seen him on Al Jazeera, claiming to be the reason for the blackout. Khalif strikes him and argues that God is to blame for the blackout. Despite the group frequently mentioning that they are the relief group workers, Khalif feels something is odd and is aware of their lies. Khalif then recalls and tells them about what he witnessed as a child. He mentions that a group of individuals arrive at his village and build towers, promising to provide electricity for them. Khalif also states that one day while tending to goats outside the towers, he came back to see the entire village's inhabitants all lying dead on the ground. He was terrified and perplexed. Though he tried, he was unable to revive his mother. At last, he tells the group that he ran away after noticing a black camel coming toward him. According to Khalif, everything unfolds for a reason. He then commands his troops to seize the chopper pilot, pull him outside, and shoot him. He claims to be aware of their purpose for being there, and threatens to murder them all if they don't reveal it. In the following scene, Bryce is coughing in the hospital bathroom in Lao. When he tries to get back to duty, he actually crashes into Nicole, causing her to drop her book, a medical book. She reveals that she is attempting a pre-med course and requests Bryce to not tell anyone about it. Back in Somalia, Demetri warns his group that they need to devise a strategy before they are all shot since the Somalians back home aren't buying the humanitarian act. Vogel contradicts Demetri's thought, resulting in a fake fight between them to successfully steal the firearms from the troops protecting them. Holding the weapons, they set out to harm Khalif, but fail as he arrives there in an armed vehicle and holds them captive. On the other hand, Mark decides to question Charlie about what she captured in her flash, as she mentioned D. Gibbons afterward. He claims that they cannot ignore the fact that their family is an important piece in the D. Gibbons puzzle. Hearing this, Olivia mentions that she wants to talk to Charlie before he does. In Somalia, Khalif complains about the lack of U.S. aid to his country where children are dying every 6 seconds and threatens them to reveal their real identities. When Khalif pulls a gun on one of the security dudes, he promptly pukes and gives up that they are CIA. Enraged, Khalif whacks Simon and goes to Demetri and asks again why they are here. In his flash-forward, Khalif sees himself delivering a speech to a large audience, echoing Abraham Lincoln's statement about the better angels of our nature. He also proclaims to the world in his speech that he is the new face of Somalia, and that it was God's will for him to lead this nation. He then threatens the group to provide him with the planes, tanks, and boats he requires. When Vogel refuses to comply with his orders, Khalif shoots one of the security guards and kills him. Later, when Khalif grabs Simon, Janice muses over the phrase better angels and tells Khalif that his prophecy is wrong and that she can prove it to him. Hearing this, Khalif drags Janice outdoors where she identifies the words of Khalif's flash-forward speech coming from Lincoln's speech. She then claims that his speech focused on unity, and when he refuses to believe in her, Janice searches the Mosaic's website and searches for better angels. Surprisingly, they find a post where a guy has claimed to have witnessed Khalif's statement as part of his flash. More of Khalif's speech is seen, and according to Janice, it is about unification. She claims that since Khalif's mission is to halt the war, he doesn't require tanks or weapons. In the following scene, Olivia approaches Charlie and asks her to share what she observed in her flash. When Charlie gets afraid talking about it, Olivia reassures her that feeling scared is normal, and that she just might be able to save her father and other people. Charlie breaks down in tears and mentions that she heard 2 masked men telling her that Mark Benford is dead. Following this, Olivia informs Mark about it, and he responds that it isn't feasible because, in his flash, he is at his board at work. When Olivia suggests they leave the city and settle in Denver, Mark claims that another blackout is imminent, and that he must attempt to avert it. Back in Somalia, Vogel and the group explain to a now less confrontational Caliph that his people weren't actually dead, they had just blacked out. Later, they decide to take a look inside the tower. Inside the tower, Simon affirms that it is his design. Demetri questions the wisdom of leaving one behind for them to find. On searching around, they discover a chessboard in one of the compartments along with a videotape. In the videotape, people from Caliph's village, including his mother, spoke about their flashes and how they came true. The researcher D. Gibbons is the next on the video, where he claims that the experiment in consciousness shifting 2 weeks in the future was successful. The fact that D. Gibbons visited Somalia in 1991 confuses Demetri. Caliph is informed by Vogel that this phenomenon was created by humans, and that God has nothing to do with it. Later, Simon discovers a trapdoor, and when they enter inside they discover the linear accelerator that caused the beta blackout. Demetri notes that to destroy the village, 5 towers were required. Vogel finds another door, which opens onto a huge warehouse-like space full of skeletons, the remains of the villagers. Caliph comes over to his mother's corpse and takes the necklace he saw in his flash. Caliph has now turned his ire against Simon, whom he holds accountable. Simon tries to defend himself by mentioning that his ideas were stolen. Caliph is about to shoot Simon when Vogel shoots Caliph first. Janice is alarmed and claims that Caliph had a better angel's vision, and that this was not meant to happen. In the next scene, when Mark approaches Olivia, she asks him if they can leave Los Angeles and all of their visions behind. In reply, Mark claims that they both save lives, which is what they both agreed to do. Later at night, when Janice is in deep thought, Demetri brings food and alcohol for her. While they talk, Janice mentions that she was meant to get pregnant this weekend. She feels foolish since she saw a mass burial, and all she can focus on is a mythical child. Demetri claims that the weekend is still fresh, and that if she is so concerned about it, he is happy to help her. Hearing this, Janice inquires about Zoe, and Demetri tells her that he won't be alive after 5 months, and wants to leave his identity to her child. Meanwhile, Simon approaches Vogel as he is in another room by the fire. He then asks him, Vogel, what he observed in his flash forward. Here, we are shown Vogel's vision where Charlie overhears him telling the other man that Mark Benford is dead. However, Vogel doesn't mention it. He only claims that he was performing his duties. In the last scene, Demetri takes another look at the D. Gibbons videotape. Right then, Simon walks in and suggests he not ponder much on D. Gibbons' words. Suddenly, the video resumes after briefly going black and D. Gibbons is heard addressing Demetri in 1991 by the name Dyson Frost. The episode ends with the surprised faces of both Demetri and Simon. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn on the notifications so you won't miss any of our new videos. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn the notifications on so you won't miss any of our new videos. Thanks for watching.